Welcome to Growing in Grace, a weekly program featuring informal conversation to help with growth in understanding the gospel and to live in the freedom that comes through Jesus Christ. And now, here's the hosts of Growing in Grace, Mike Kapler and Joel Berizicki.
Hey, this is Joel Berizicki and Mike Kapler with me this week's edition of Growing in Grace. And hey, Mike, something that we failed to mention last time, I didn't even think about it, but we kind of reached a milestone here in our Growing in Grace programs because our last program was our 100th episode, and we should have given away prizes or something. I don't know, like Bibles or something, just for hey, this is our 100th show. But anyway, this is number 101. Who would have thought that you and me would have gone this far with this thing? Two nuts here in Iowa. Waterloo, Iowa, just talking about the grace of God. But, man, it's been a good run of programs for you and me, and we don't plan on stopping anytime soon, so hopefully we'll be able to keep this going for quite some time, as long as the Lord allows.
Well, like one of our great leaders once said, he who is with sin cast the first milestone. So way to go, Joel. Well, I didn't know we had done that many. It goes by so quickly, and we heard it when we were young. Our elders told us the years go by faster as you get older, and you believed them, but you just didn't realize how fast it really would go.
No, you don't even think it's going to go by that fast. And for the person who's listening to us, maybe you've listened to all 100 of our shows, and I feel sorry for you because that's 100 shows. These are about almost 15 minutes apiece. That's 25 hours of your life that you have wasted completely. And I just, I apologize for both of us. Seriously, though, life happens, doesn't it, Mike? Life happens all the time. And
I've had it happen a time or two, and it's a good thing when it does that. I think, Joel, that one thing before we get into the program here is we've had some nice comments from people, emails, and we'd like to hear from more, even if it's just a sentence or two to let us know you're out there. If there's something that you've heard that you've enjoyed or want to talk about further, let us know what that is. But it's just nice to know who is listening and maybe where you're from. That's always interesting, especially when we hear from people on the other side of the globe, too, Joel.
Yeah, it's all we've heard from someone in Holland, I know, and all around the United States, from the East Coast to the West Coast. But, yeah, if you're out there listening, like Mike said, we'd love to hear from you. And again, if there's, we try to just talk about whatever's on our hearts, whatever's on our minds, and maybe it's reaching you exactly where you're at. Maybe there's some other stuff you'd like to hear us talk about, and indeed, we'd love you to share that with us so that we can be here for you, because this isn't about us. It's about the Lord leading us in talking about His goodness and His grace. So that's what Growing in Grace is all about, growing in that grace and knowledge of Jesus.
Joel, I've had the opportunity to take a few days off this summer, a few days off of work, and go on a little bit of family time. I took a few days and did something for the first time that I've always thought about doing. Well, I've thought about it for recent years anyway, but I've never taken the plunge, and that is to make a trip to Las Vegas. You ever been there before?
What? You did what? You went where? You evil person. No, I've been to the airport, but that's as much as I've been. On my way out to Fresno one time, and that's the extent of my time in Vegas. But did you have a good time? What did you guys do there?
Well, they call it Sin City, Joel. So what do you think I did?
All right, man. Yeah, you're talking my talk now.
Of course, we had a good time. It was a family vacation. Now, our family doesn't gamble, and believe it or not, and I speak the truth, we didn't gamble this time either. Now, when you stay in these hotels and stuff out there, I mean, the casinos are right there where you are. You cannot really avoid them. Now, you can avoid participating and playing in them, but you're pretty much walking through them. They're everywhere. You really can't get away from them or just walk around them all the time. They're just there where you are. But we had some fun things to see and do, Joel. It had nothing to do with the concept that most people have of Las Vegas, whether they've been there or not. We even made a day trip to the Grand Canyon. A little bit of a drive, but that's one of those great wonders of the world we had never seen before, so we thought we were that close. We had a rental car, and we went there. And so that was neat. We did another nature thing just outside of Vegas called Red Rock Canyon. Some different things inside of Vegas that we did. Even with all these hotels and casinos that are there are some fantastic things to see right there on the Strip. Just a number of different things. The fountains at Bellagio, and sometimes just walking around some of these places and admiring the incredible scenery, if you will, of just wonderful, incredible buildings and how they're all done. We went into the Venetian. If you ever get a chance, you've got to get around into the Venetian, because you'll swear you're in Italy. You walk inside these huge, huge places, and there's this one section, Joel, where you would think that you were literally outside. They had this thing decorated. You'd thought you were out in an outdoor mall in Italy, but you were actually inside. But the way they've got it, the artistry of it and the way it looks, you'd swear you were looking up at the sky with the sun shining through, but it's all inside. Wow. Just really fun stuff to see and do. We did a number of other things. We didn't gamble. I remember one time my daughter and I were walking around our own hotel that we were staying in, which was a couple of miles off the Strip. But we were walking through the casino, and we were just amazed, because this was when we first got there. We were just amazed at how big it was, and the people playing the slots and so forth. And so my daughter looks at me and says, "Oh, go ahead, Dad. I mean, just to say you did it." And I looked at her and I said, "Yeah, but I'd feel a little bit better being able to tell people I didn't do it." I don't know why. I didn't want to do it just to say I did it, because I guess that's what most people do. And when we were teenagers, Joel, sometimes there was this thing that commonly was referred to as peer pressure. What our friends did that was wrong, sometimes we would feel to be a part of the group and to be part of our friends and not lose those friends, that we would also want to participate in some of the wrong things. Joel, before I came into a better understanding of the knowledge of grace some years back, if I had gone into Vegas with the mentality of legalism and thou shalt not, if that were a big part of my daily doctrine, as it once used to be, then I probably would have been just exerting in my own effort the desire not to do the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. We went into Vegas not worrying about Sin City, not worrying about gambling, not worrying about some of the other things that sometimes get thrown out at you down there. It wasn't even really an issue for us and in our family, and for me in particular. But it could have been some years ago if I had gone there under the mentality of legalism, where I'm just always trying not to do the wrong thing. Under God's freedom and grace, I was able to enjoy the many other things that Vegas had to offer for us to do and see.
Well, yeah, isn't it amazing what growing in the grace and the knowledge of Jesus will do in your life as compared to growing in a more legalistic mindset. Now, I'm reminded of something we've talked about in the last few weeks. Didn't really mean to go here, but we've looked in Colossians a little bit, and from Colossians 2, Paul talks about these things, these basic principles of the world that we died from. Do not touch, do not taste, do not handle. And, he says, these things have an appearance of wisdom in self-imposed religion, false humility, and neglect of the body, but they're of no value against the indulgence of the flesh. And so what you're talking about, Mike, is that there in Vegas, it wasn't that you were living by thou shalt do this or thou shalt abstain from doing that. It's just where you're at in your life with the Lord, the grace that you've grown in. You didn't feel pulled towards that, and you didn't feel like God telling you, don't even think about that. I mean, it wasn't either one of those for you. At least that's what it sounds like from what you're telling me. It was just, hey, this is who I am. That's not really. I'm not feeling drawn towards this thing, and that's great. That's the grace of God at work, and. We sometimes make this life, our Christian life, out to be full of all these rules, and like you said, or kind of like I was trying to make fun of you with my big, huge gasp when you said you went to Vegas. That's kind of the reaction you get from a lot of people, or there a lot of people will give if you say you're going to Vegas or you're going to do this or that, and it's the initial reaction, and a lot of times the only reaction that people will give is, what? What are you talking about? What do you think you're doing, going to do all that stuff? Whereas your intentions and your heart and where you're at had nothing to do with the things that immediately popped up in their minds.
I've seen the look on people's face. Now, the average Joe or Josephine out there in the world, you tell them you're going to Las Vegas, they're thinking, oh, whoa, you're going to have a great time. And I just kind of smile and say, yeah, well, I'm thinking to myself, I'm probably not going to be doing what you'd be doing, but I'm going to have a good time. Whereas somebody who's a little bit more bound up, religiously speaking, under the law, if I mention, going to Las Vegas, what's the first thing that pops into their mind? Sin, evil, gambling, and all of those things that they perceive as being bad. And, here's the thing. When I was a young man, Joel, caught up with the law, of course, I knew I was saved by grace. For those who haven't heard our story before, we knew we were saved by grace, but like so many other Christians, it's so easy to get caught up in legalism. A lot of my young friends back at that time, they would, they'd go out to the bars and so forth, and I came to a place in my life where I didn't want to do that anymore. And it would have been tough for me with a legalistic mindset to hang out in those kinds of places and not do the wrong thing. It would have been hard for me back then. Today, even though I don't really have any desire to hang out in bars, if there's somebody that I'm connecting with who wants to go for a drink or something, I don't have any problem myself with going there and having a 7-Up or a Pepsi or something, and if you want to drink something else, you have the freedom to do that, in my opinion. I just don't have a desire to drink alcohol. I don't really feel like it's a need of mine in my life just because of where I've come from and where I've gone. But I can see it as a place where I could reach out to people. It wasn't always that way in my life, but grace has given me the freedom to be able to take advantage of opportunities like that without feeling like I'm going to get pulled into doing the wrong thing all of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, grace and love. I mean, true grace, pure grace, and agape love will do things in a person's heart and in their life that rules and regulations and that thou shalt and thou shalt nots just cannot accomplish. And in fact, we've found that the thou shalt and the thou shalt nots, looking at them as rules, can actually lead, can pull the flesh in a way that love and grace cannot do. I mean, love and grace are what the Spirit does in and through us. And when we walk in love and when we walk in God's grace, it's not walking in fear of doing the wrong thing or fear of not doing the right thing. It's walking with the power of the Holy Spirit with us. And I think that's probably a good place for us to end today, Mike. Our time is up for this one on this week's edition of Growing in Grace. It's been great having you here with us. You can check out more information at graceroots.org. And again, we would love to hear from you if it's on your heart to get in touch with us. I'm Joel, along with Mike. We'll be back with you again next time.
You've been listening to Growing in Grace with Mike Kapler and Joel Brueseke, a weekly program featuring informal conversation to help with growth in understanding the gospel and to live in the freedom that comes through Jesus Christ.